If we could call to order the council meeting for February 27th.
All right, I'll call the roll. Councilmember Brown.
Present.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson. Councilmember Koss.
Here.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Here.
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
We have a quorum, all are present.
Okay, as we lead into the meditation and pledge, 14 days ago, as we sat on this very dais, during public comment, the mayor asked to be recognized, and it was approximately 8:20. At that time, he told us about an active shooter on the MSU campus, and that shots had been fired, and we did not know at that time what the outcome was. Today, as we sit here, we know that Brian Frazier, Alexandra Vender, and Ariel Anderson were murdered. We also know that there were 5 other students that were gravely injured, and we know that a campus with the students, the faculty, families, friends, were all impacted by that. So as we go into our meditation this evening, if we could remember those, remember our first responders that went out to that call not knowing what they were going to expect. As students have gone back to the campus, knowing that a place that they thought was secure, that they looked at as a home, what they're dealing with and will continue to deal with as the days go on. I'd also like to remember Martha Miles. Her husband, Joe Miles, passed away on Saturday, the 18th. Visitation will be at Riley Funeral Home on Sunday from 1 to 4, and the homecoming will be on March 6th at the Lansing Church of God in Christ. Are there any others? Councilmember Brown and then the mayor.
Thank you. I would also like to recognize Dorothy Jenkins, who passed away. Her funeral was at Tabernacle of David this week. She was in a car accident as an indirect result from the MSU shooting. Traffic was moving crazy, and she was killed. And she was a wonderful, sincere person who have impacted Lansing extraordinary. And so just to be in thoughts and prayers as well for her.
Mayor Shore.
I'd like to add in that we remember Pastor Tony Patrick's father, David Lee Patrick Sr., who passed on February 14th. Tony and his wife Karen are West Side neighbors, and he's been a pastor in this city for many years. So I hope we will all remember him and his family.
Okay, anyone else? At this time, if we could please rise. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next we are to comments by council member and the city clerk.
Comments by council members. Comments by council members. Vice President Garza, and then Councilmember Cost.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to let folks know in the public that my next constituent contact meeting will be Saturday, March 11th from 1 to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 4. That is at 1433 East Miller Road. That will be from 1 to 3 p.m. And we do have the RSVP group, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program, that will be attending that meeting as well to give information to my constituents. And it's a real good opportunity so I can meet with the public and hear the concerns and address what's happening with our budget and everything city-related, especially Second Ward. So look forward to seeing everybody on March 11th at 1 to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 4 at 1433 East Miller Road.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Kloss and then Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you, President Wood. I have three things. One, ENO will be having its monthly meeting Wednesday, March 1st, which is this coming Wednesday. It will be at the Foster Community Center, second floor, room 210. I believe the Board of Water and Light and MDOT will be there to discuss issues with construction, as well as tree trimming, and that's room 210. First Ward constituent meeting will be Saturday from 10 to noon at the Rio Depot on South Washington. I am trying to get BWL to be there to talk about the tree trimming as well. And I will also be there to listen to each and every one of your voices and hear your concerns. And that's from 10 to noon on Saturday, this coming Saturday. And then finally, I want to add, I got a phone call today from the mayor, and I really appreciate the fact that they are taking this issue of red tags so seriously. They counted a number of 13 right now with residents living in them. Now, I'm not completely sure how they came to that number, and I disagree with the number a little bit. And I think the point is, I appreciate a lot that you're taking it seriously, because, you know, we've got red tags, we have people living in dangerous situations. So, you know, whatever we can do to help save those people and get them into a good situation. And it sounds like the list that I had was somewhat outdated. And a lot of the red tags were falling off as soon as they checked them, which made my number a little more inaccurate, but I still think the number's a little higher in my visiting of the houses. But I think the point is we need to protect those citizens, so the administration taking this seriously is important to me, and I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Next is Councilmember Jackson and then Councilmember Hussein.
Thank you. Just want to invite everyone to the 4th Ward Constituent Contact Meeting every 4th Saturday of the month. So on this coming up March, it'll be March 25th at Gregory's Restaurant at 10 o'clock, March 25th. The address is 2510 North Martin Luther King. Look forward to seeing everyone there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hussein.
Sure, so just a few things. First, we will also have a constituent contact meeting in the 3rd Ward. This will be March 11th, which is the second Saturday in March, 10 to 12 noon. These meetings always take place at 5825 Wise Road, which is the location of the Elfrida Schmidt Southside Community Center, and we meet in the Sandy Allen Room. So we certainly hope that folks can get out. Again, that is March 11th at 10 a.m. We too have a representative from RSVP that will be there to discuss programming and opportunities for folks to get engaged. But we also typically have board and commission members, we have judges, we have county commissioners. A lot of times we'll have a state representative or two kind of step in just to be there and to be accessible. And so we certainly encourage you all to come out, whether you live in the 3rd Ward or not. The second announcement is that Rejuvenating South Lansing will be having its monthly meeting tomorrow, which is February 28th at 6:30 p.m. That is at 5825 Wise Road, so it's that same building that we host our constituent contact meetings in, Elfrida Schmidt Southside Community Center. So again, we hope you can make that as well. I am hoping, just very quickly, that at some point, whether it be now or later in the meeting, that leadership can give us an update regarding transparency and where we are at with regard to the live streaming and archiving of committee meetings. And lastly, I would like to wish Mr. Peter and Daniel Spatafor a very happy anniversary.
And he'd like nothing better than to be here.
I love spending holidays with you all.
Are there any other council comments? Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. And just real quick, because I did it at Committee of the Whole too, I just wanted to thank our first responders for 2 weeks ago, our Lansing Police Department. I personally reached out to Chief and thanked them for their service. They were in a very tough situation, and they handled it very well. Had no doubt that they would, but I think it's always important to support our first responders and our police department, and the trauma that they also experience during these hard times. And I think that sometimes we forget that our first responders, our police and our fire, also experience trauma. Not to take away from the trauma experienced by the MSU students and the MSU community as a whole, because that was absolutely horrible. But here in the city of Lansing, I want to make sure that we don't forget that our first responders were out there on the front lines, and at the end, they were there and they did their job wonderfully. Thank you.
Thank you. And as a request from Councilmember Hussein, this was a project that he started and I worked with him last year. We still are not up and running in our conference room. We still have continued with glitches in there. We are hoping that by the end of the week that we will have that taken care of. If not, then our next resort is to move our committee meetings out here on the dais, and then have City TV film them, live stream them on our YouTube. That's not the area that we wanted to go because we believe it's a little bit easier back in the conference room with the public, but the fact that we continue to have problems getting the streaming to work, we are now at a situation where we want to make sure that we follow up on that commitment and have some resolve to that. So hopefully at our next council meeting, I'll be able to announce that we're set in the back and we're ready to go. But one way or another, we will be streaming committee meetings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So on behalf of City Clerk Chris Swope, I'd like to give a reminder about U.S. passports. If you plan on traveling out of the country this summer and need a U.S. passport for the first time, please make an appointment soon. Current wait times are 9 to 12 weeks for routine requests, and you can pay extra to get your passport just 4 or 5 weeks sooner. And for those who don't know, you can come to the clerk's office to get a U.S. passport, but by appointment only. You can go to our website at lansingmi.gov/clerk or call us at 483-4131 to make an appointment. But right now, our first appointment is for March 21st. So if you're looking for summer plans, now is the time to get that appointment in. But you certainly call our office for more questions. And also, I want to share that start scheduling interviews for summer and fall paid internships. We need interns to help with our election administration, council meetings like Lauren, and our records management. So please have your resume and cover letter to our office by the end of the week. Our email is city.clerk@lansingmi.gov. And there are more details on our website. And we give priority to Lansing City residents. And you do not have to complete an internship for college credit as well. So with that, we're to community event announcements. Is there anyone in the audience that has 1 minute to speak or share details of their event?
Okay, so on March 11th from 9 to 11 a.m., there's going to be a Pi A 5K hosted by Impression 5 at Hawk Island. Entry to the race will cost about $30 or so, and medals and t-shirts will be given away to those who have finished a run in that race. So good. So hope we can get ourselves out running for that.
Thank you.
Any other announcements? Okay, if not, we're to speaker registration for public comment on legislative matters. So you have 1 more minute to complete the blue sheet. to speak on any items number 1 through 10 on the agenda, which includes the public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant, consent agenda, and resolution for action. If you want to speak, you must sign in on the blue sheet. Now to mayor's comments.
Mayor Shore.
Thank you, Madam President. A few congratulations to offer. One, great job by the UAW with their Black History program over the weekend. That went very well. I also want to congratulate the Juneteenth Interfaith Virtual Prayer Program, both which were excellent. Sparrow had a wonderful gala for their foundation. So great job with Sparrow. I want to congratulate Linda Vale. We had her retirement party over the weekend. Sad to see her moving on, although I am very excited for new leadership. Dr. Nike will be wonderful, but congrats to Linda Vale. And then congratulations to all the folks with the Middle Village first cohort, which graduated and are moving out. And I think all but one are going to be in our city, most in our downtown, but that's great. Spinning off some new businesses in our city. Coming up, we have lots of cool things. This Wednesday is the Suits in the City special reception, which is over at Wharton. It's in East Lansing, but that's okay. We have our Homeless No More event, 5:30 on Thursday. And then, as a reminder to everyone, the State of the City is March 14th at Everett High School. It starts at, doors open at 6, the program will start at 7, I'll probably start speaking, no, doors open at 6, the program's at 6:30. I'll probably start speaking at 7. Certainly all council members are always welcome, invited. Hopefully you'll all be there. We'll have seats for you with your names and everything. So I appreciate that. A few issue things. One, thank you, Councilman, regarding the red tags. And I want to add to that, we are taking it very seriously, so I appreciate your work. I know you're taking it very seriously. And Jim's shop, OCA, is taking it very seriously, and they've already informed courts to be ready that we're going to have some misdemeanors coming for some landlords that were renting out properties. So it's not going to be on the tenants, it's going to be on the landlords. Councilman Cost, when we spoke previously, said that the tenants didn't even know that they were in red tagged houses, so we're going to make sure the landlords that are renting out houses that they knew were red tagged are going to face whatever penalties we can. So Jim and his shop are on top of that. They've let the courts know. So thank you for your work on that. And then for adding to what Councilwoman Spitzley said, thank you for saying that. It is so true that our police and fire, they went through some things, hours and hours of searching down tips, hundreds of tips. We had police officers and firefighters. So I want to thank Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin, because this came up. She didn't put this publicly, but I will. This came up in a conversation that she had with our firefighters and police officers when she stopped in, and she got on the phone and called a few folks around her district asking for assistance with counseling or mental health services or whatever our first responders need, and she was successful. So while she isn't going to promote that publicly, I am, because it's hugely important that we provide the services to our first responders, and we've got it, but there was a lot of services needed. So in addition to what our students need and what MSU is providing on campus, and I think the MSU president has been doing a great job, we did need to provide that for our first responders, and Congresswoman came through. So thank you, Councilwoman Spitzley, for raising that issue. And that's what I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, we are to public comment and legislative matters. Legislative matters consist of the following items on the agenda, number 1 through 10, which includes the public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant Amendment, fiscal year 2020 and 2021, Annual Action Plan, and the consent agenda and resolutions for action.
With that, Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So before us, we have a public hearing, the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG Amendment, fiscal year 2019 to 2020 and fiscal year 2020 to 2021, the Annual Action Plan. We do have Executive Director Raleigh Van Fossen for the Capital Area Housing Partnership. Is he coming down?
And Barb.
And Barb Kimmel. If you guys are available, could you please come down? Thank you.
Thank you, and that's if there's any questions that arise from the public, you'll be down here to answer those. And again, Normally, this is not a process that this council does, but occasionally, because of a timing issue, we are asked this evening to not only have the public hearing, but to vote on this. So unless there are major concerns from the public, we will be also voting on this evening.
So first, I want to make the council and public aware that we have received some written public comments. The clerk's office has received 7 emails in support of the amendment and 4 emails opposing SLU2, which were provided to you and will be part of the permanent record.
Okay, thank you.
Our first speaker is Nicholas Zandy.
Always the first one to speak a lot this time as well. Okay, so my name is Nicholas Zandy. I am from the 2nd Ward in the Old Everett neighborhood. I am here to speak on agenda item number 10 on the vacancy on Edgewood Boulevard from the old Sam's Club and the plan to use it as a storage unit. As a candidate for city council, I've been to neighborhood meetings across the city and have not seen anyone in support of it. And I've been hearing from several council members that many emails from their constituents have not shown any support from it whatsoever. So if anyone tries to say there might be a few benefits, well, I've got the public on my side, so deal with it, I guess. Also, they don't even live in the state of Michigan, so make that what you will. And as someone who lives on the south side, which is where the old Sam's Club was, my parents shop near there almost all the time at Meijer, Target, Menards, etc. And we also occasionally eat at Texas Roadhouse and even order takeout from that restaurant as well. And for people saying nobody shops there anymore, that is just downright false, because I was shopping with at least one of my parents at a nearby Target and Meijer. And I hope that the city council rejects such an idea for that a useless storage unit, because we've already got 4 units in the city of Lansing already, and we really do not need a 5th one. And that's all I really need to say, and I shall yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Next is Loretta Stataway, followed by Todd Costa.
Well, I think by now you all know that I'm against the proposal to turn the Sam's Club into more storage facilities, and I've spoken enough down here about it that I think you probably know all of my reasons and thoughts. But I will stress again that you need a ground for rejection, I understand it, from the process of the planning department's viewpoint anyway. So if that's the case, your grounds for rejecting this are that it is not beneficial to the surrounding environment. It is harmful to the surrounding environment, the nearby businesses. It will be a death knell for many of those smaller businesses in there when traffic is reduced to what would come and go from another storage facility versus what could come and go from a much more vibrant and involved and intense use of that property. We have sat here many times and gone over and over and over again the fact that we take too many options off of the table for ourselves by taking the first thing that comes down the pike. We should have learned by now that that's not always a beneficial approach. It usually is not. And I strongly urge the community, the citizens, be heard, that the council acts on their behalf and turns this down. You're harming not just the citizens and the existing businesses, but all the other storage facilities that have come in prior to this that were promised lack or little competition if they would come in and invest in the properties that they did invest in, particularly on MLK and on homes. You're continually going down one path and then turning around and taking a U-turn and going back and doing harm to those you promised not to harm. So please, don't harm us. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker is Todd Costa.
Hi. Excuse me. Hi, good evening. I'm the real estate broker that is in support of the self-storage. I've spoken to you guys a couple times before, so I just wanted to say thank you for your support, for those that support it, for those that don't. I will continue to try to convince you. Either way, I appreciate your efforts and enthusiasm for Lansing. I have that as well, and everyone in the crowd, so we're glad that they come out. Also, I just listed the old Hooters in South Lansing right there in Edgewood also, so we'll try to find a restaurant to backfill that space, and hopefully I can work with some of you on that in the future. Thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
And since there's no referral of the public hearing, as a vote is scheduled for tonight, I think we're on to the consent, we're going to do the appointment?
Yes. We're going to move to action item number 7. And Councilmember Spatafor, this is an appointment and for the Human Relations Community Service Board.
Yes, and I'll talk slowly so the clerk can head down to the well, and then we'll invite Mr. Gailey to join us in the well as well for swearing in. This is a resolution appointing Sean Gailey as an at-large member of the Human Relations and Community Services Advisory Board for a term to expire June 30th, 2024. Mr. Gailey is a 27-year resident of Lansing, works in the healthcare industry in an office downtown, so he works and lives in the city, so we appreciate the full 1% income tax out of that one. But he also testified in committee this afternoon that he believes in fostering an environment of cooperation and building relationships among diverse groups and interests, and that when he heard of a vacancy on this committee, looked at the description, looked at the mission, and felt that it really fit his personal ideals and personal thoughts on service, and applied. It was his first choice, and I'm pleased to make the motion to appoint him as an at-large member to the HRCS Board.
We have a motion. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. And now it's up to the clerk to swear him in.
All right, raise your right hand. Let's answer your question. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States, Constitution of the State of Michigan, and will faithfully discharge the duties of office of Human Relations Community Services Advisory Board member according to the best of your ability?
I do.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. As the clerk is getting those items, that document signed, we now go to the consent agenda, and I will turn it over to Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So I move the consent agenda with the following items. The appointment of Danielle Grubaugh as a Workforce Development Member of the Community Corrections Advisory Board. Setting a public hearing on special assessment Glenburn Commons, trash and grass abatement. That is, the public hearing will be scheduled for March 13th. A grant acceptance for the Community Economic Development Association of Michigan, the CEDAM, Children's Saving Account Innovation Projects, grant acceptance for 54A District Courts, Specialty Court, grant acceptance for the U.S. Conference of Mayors Dollar-Wise Innovation Grant, and that's all.
And those are the items before us. With that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you.
All right, we are then to resolutions for action. And we're on to number 8 then, the Community Development Grant.
With that, Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So this is the Community Development Block Grant CDBG amendment to fiscal year 2020 and fiscal year 2021, the annual action plan. So $815,324 will be going to Walter French, and another $891,236.89 will be going to the public facilities for the homeless. And with that, I would move the resolution.
We have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we're next to the claim disposition, claim 1927 for Foxland Holdings.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Sorry. This is a claim for $5,118 for trash removal fees. The committee voted on February 13th, 2023 to deny the claim for $5,118, and I recommend the resolution be approved.
We have a motion before us to deny the claim. Are there any questions or concerns on this? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, next we're to SLU 2-2022, special land use permit for 340 East Edgewood Boulevard for a self-storage rental facility.
Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President. What we have before us is a request for a special land use permit from Juniper 2 LLC to develop a self-storage. It was reviewed by the planning board, and they had a public hearing on October 6th, 2022, at which time the applicant's representative spoke in favor and 2 individuals spoke in opposition. The planning board met on November 10th, 2022, and voted 4-1 to recommend approval of the SLU 2-2022 for a special land use permit to utilize utilize the building at 340 East Edgewood Boulevard, which was the old Sam's Club, for self-storage rental business. And they did have some conditions, and the conditions were the 2 6,800 square foot suites are to be reserved for commercial use that are permitted by right in the S-C suburban commercial zoning district, and at least 20% of the existing parking lot was to be converted to green space, primarily in the form of bioswales or rain gardens that filter and clean the water as it absorbs into the ground. We had a public hearing 2 weeks ago, and we had a number of people who who spoke in opposition. The potential owner was here and gave a presentation. That Wednesday after, we had a development and planning committee meeting to go over the comments and to hear any other questions or concerns, and no one from the Juniper or anyone showed up for that meeting, and so it was voted out of committee. I think that I'm sorry. As the clerk said, they received 4 emails in opposition, and we received 5 emails in opposition since that last time.
In addition to what they'd already
In addition
received.
to what we've already received. With that, I will move the resolution.
We have a motion on the resolution. Are there any questions or concerns? Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. No questions or concerns. I just wanted to make a comment here that I am, and give an explanation of why I'm a no vote. I heard loud and clear from my constituents, and we received emails from all over the city stating that they do not want to see another self-storage facility in South Lansing. I think Lansing and South Lansing deserves better. There's definitely more palatable businesses that should be brought to South Lansing, something that will help attract more businesses and be beneficial for the surrounding businesses in that area. So I'm a no vote, and this goes to any contractor or developer or broker. We don't want any self-storage units in South Lansing. We have enough as it is. Thank you.
Are there other questions or concerns? I have Councilmember Jackson, then Councilmember Hussein.
Thank you. I am probably not going to support this. However, I hope that you guys don't throw away your plans forever, because I don't know, it's a big space, and I was in those meetings, and like I said before, I'm not convinced that there's other businesses that's going to be able to fill it. I don't want to see a self-storage there. I would like to see an amusement park, like I think some people said, or a big, huge, kid-friendly thing, or I guess anything almost. But the reality is, with the way that the market space for large warehouse-type buildings are, is that there's not much that can fill it besides these things. So if you ask me, would I rather see a self-storage or an empty building that, you know, gets worse and worse every year, I would say a self-storage. So I'm not going to support it today, but I'm going to be watching very eagerly to see how it develops, and I hope I'm wrong, that it does develop into something. And we'll just have to wait and see. But I think that, you know, I don't know how many years we want to wait, but when it comes back, I think we should consider it, because unless something else is coming, nobody wants to see that building just decay and sit there and be nothing for however many years it's going to take until either large warehouses come back in style or something else happens.
Councilmember Hussein.
Well, I certainly hope this won't be back before us. What I hope is that the property owner gets with our administration, our economic development team, and in collaboration, market this property aggressively and appropriately. The market over there is much stronger than I think. We had a few folks down that were, speaking on behalf of the property owner at the public hearing, who spoke very disparagingly about South Lansing. And I, as a South Lansing resident, was incredibly discouraged, and frankly, I was offended. There is an incredibly strong market over there. There are market indicators that actually, with all due respect, I think what we saw were folks that are trying to take the easy route, and they're trying to offload this property. They're trying to seal the deal and move on to the next. Because again, we have studied the market. We know what the void analyses say, and there is no reason why we shouldn't be able to onboard a much higher use at that particular location. Beyond that, I took notes at the last meeting, and we talked a lot about, or I should say council members talked a lot about a comprehensive approach to economic development, strategic planning. We have a master plan in place. It's a bit outdated, so I certainly hope the administration takes a look at that thing, opens it back up, and engages the public and makes sure that we update that, particularly so we comport with state law. But with that being said, this simply does not adhere to the master plan. And I took just a few notes with regard to the master plan, which calls for transformed commercial districts and corridors that serve to stabilize neighborhoods. This project certainly would not stabilize the adjacent neighborhoods in that area. One of the three goals is to support community through high-quality neighborhoods with convenient shopping and diverse job centers. This would not add to that or enhance, as an example, convenient shopping in that area. There was a bold vision laid out as part of that master plan, which was to be achieved by 2030. It says that Lansing will be the best economically, environmentally, and socially sustainable city its size in the Midwest, a thriving center of business, industry, culture, and arts, a friendly, welcoming, attractive, vibrant, and active cosmopolitan city, and a major center for entrepreneurship and innovation. In the master plan, time and time again, recognizes that we will only get there if we continue to strategically plan and that we adhere to the principles within this master plan. And so I continuously scratch my head when I see recommendations from our zoning administrator and from our planning commission that says to approve, approve, and approve. I don't understand it. Beyond that, when we look at planning commission and public input, they did support. It was 4-1. The one dissenting vote was from a resident from South Lansing, who understands the market viability in that area, but also understands that we are hemorrhaging our community of people because they do not want to live in a community, as an example, that is serving as a self-storage hub for the entire region. When you looked at that, I was highly, highly disturbed by the market analysis that showed that there was a 6.2 saturation number, because what they did, and you can manipulate any number any way you want, what they did was they took the 1 mile piece, and there are 8 self-storage facilities within 1 mile of that particular location. And then within 3, that includes a number of adjacent townships, as an example, there were none between 1 and 3. So essentially what was being argued is that we should serve as the self-storage hub for the entire region. We cannot sustain a livable community serving as a self-storage hub for the entire region. I get that this particular location has freeway access, and so folks, as an example, in adjacent townships could jump on the freeway, scoot over to Edgewood, very quickly drive into this location, never have to get out of their car, drop their stuff off or pick their stuff up, and then exit. But that is, again, not something that is going to move our community forward. And then lastly, the economic impact is just a joke. To talk about the economic impact without actually giving any real numbers, once we started to drill down on that, 2 total jobs, and these were first labeled as management jobs, $17 an hour. McDonald's is hiring at $17 an hour right now for folks that are dropping fries and grease, right? And so that is, I can't even imagine. And really, this thing is being set up to essentially sustain itself. You have 60 on-site security cameras. You have a drive-in service. I mean, frankly, you don't even need anybody on-site to run this particular location. and I honestly believe that it will be unmanned, quite a bit of the time. Beyond that, again, the proprietors in California, so all revenues will be conveyed, all real revenues will be conveyed and spent in California. And then with regards to the property tax number that was referenced of some $600,000 in year 10, we already are receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars for this particular location. And any viable investment or business at that location will provide for at least $600,000 in property taxes within 10 years, if not much more. So with that being said, I am absolutely a no vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Spitzley.
Thank you, Madam President, and I won't go reiterate what Councilmember Hussein said because he said it perfectly. I'm also a resident of the south side of Lansing, and similar to what some other folks have come in before and made disparaging remarks about the south side, it boils my blood. As for economic development, again, and I've said it before, economic development is a marathon and it is not a sprint. And to look at the master plan and, figure out what we want there and market towards that. And so I think that we've got great people. We've got Carl Dorschmer. We've got Barb Kimmel. We've got the great mindset that we can work together and, put something there that, comports with the master plan and comports with the economic development vision that we want to see in the city of Lansing. We've got these corridor committees together, so we have the brain power. I drive down Edgewood Boulevard quite often, and so the squalor and the trash and the vagrancy, I don't see it. But if it is there, then I would submit to you that's the responsibility of the property owner, and he needs to put some security out there. As someone who works with industrial sites across 14 states, we have security at our sites, and so the onus is on you to keep your site safe. It is not a reason to pick the first thing that comes down the pike because of this supposed vagrancy or security issue at the site. We've got to do better. And, as an advocate of the South Side, I believe we have the tools in the city of Lansing to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other council comments? With that, I do want to make a couple of comments. First of all, the current master plan is underway for review. The mayor has put together a committee on that, and there are different community members that are serving on reviewing the master plan as we speak. So there will be an opportunity for public comment and buying in and speaking of some of the things that we're talking about here. But second, I think there was a comment by one of our speakers that council made some promises that we wouldn't oversaturate the self-storage. I think what council said was we wanted to make sure that there was a need for that type of business in the community. And some of what we were hearing from some of these that were coming forth and asking for zoning on this, that there really wasn't a need because all of the facilities weren't, all of the space in those facilities weren't being utilized. And I think if you went today and did a market study on that, even though I heard what the owner had said, I don't believe that you would have 90% of all of our facilities that are full at this time. We did hear from the community. The community talked about wanting something better. And I heard what Councilmember Jackson said about having a building that's deteriorating and being vacant. But I also remember having neighbors talk to me about a drug house and whether having somebody in the house is better than having the house boarded up. And many of them would say they'd rather have the house boarded up. So I think that one of the things is we can't accept something just on the basis that it's better than nothing. Listening to the community that articulated very well their concerns in multiple letters to us and emails and calls, they deserve and are expecting something better. As many of you talked about, the idea that we have staff within the city that should be able to help facilitate this, I think is absolutely true. That's what we need to be doing. As much as I understand the workings of LEAP, one of the things with that was it was regional. Now having our EDC back in that's just focusing on Lansing instead of the region, then that allows them to come up with a comprehensive way of looking at some of our corridors and making sure that we have the best facilities there that attract and want people to be in those neighborhoods behind those facilities. They become the gateway, and I've said this over and over again, whether we're talking about Cedar Street or Pennsylvania or Martin Luther King or Saginaw, if that porch is not taken care of, if that driveway isn't pulling people in, then people won't buy those houses behind it because they are assuming that if that's what I am coming into that community, then that is what's behind it. We don't get them back to the $100,000 houses and or more behind those corridors because all they can see is what there isn't for them on those corridors. So I will be voting no on this as well. And with that, if there are no other comments, we have a motion before us. All those in favor of granting the special land use, say aye. All those opposed to granting the special land use, say aye. Aye. It fails. Thank you.
Okay, next we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. If anyone would like to speak on city government-related matters, you have 1 minute to complete the yellow form and get it to Lauren if you haven't already do so. And so then we're on to reports of city officer, boards, and commissions.
Vice President Garza.
Thank you, Council President. I move that all items be considered and that the proper referrals be made by the President.
With that motion, any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Okay, we have items from the city clerk, minutes and boards and commission.
Placed on file.
Boards and commission term expirations.
Committee of a whole.
Liquor license GGLL LLC, request for a Class C license and a Sunday sales outdoor service entertainment permit at 507 East Shiawassee.
That will go to city operations, but we are lacking some information in that, so if we could make sure.
You have it.
We now
It was
have it.
delivered at 3 o'clock. today.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Sure. Sorry for that delay. Items from the mayor, grant acceptance from U.S. Conference of Mayors grant.
Ways and Means.
Grant acceptance from Eagle Recycling Organic Infrastructure Grant.
Ways and Means.
We have a sole source purchase from Office Community Media, request for Tempest Lighting Inc. for vendor for outdoor projector enclosures.
That's Ways and Means as well.
And we have grant acceptance from Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant.
Ways and Means.
And we have a reappointment of Calvin Jones as an at-large member of the Economic Development Corporation, Tax Increment Finance Authority, and Brownfield Redevelopment Authority for a term to expire February 28, 2029.
That will go development planning, but that is also lacking some information that needs to be provided to our office manager.
Okay, and no communications and petitions. So next, remarks by council members.
Are there any remarks by council members? Seeing none?
Okay,
Oh, I'm sorry, just a second.
Yeah,
Councilmember Garza.
All right, thank you, Council President. So I do, and I guess Mr. Van Fossen has already left. I did want to make a mention. I appreciate Councilman Cost and Mayor Shore for addressing the red tag homes in Lansing. I also would like to, and I brought this up to Barb Kimmel at our last Development and Planning Committee meeting, is that I would like to make sure that we are taking a look at all of our rental units in Lansing and making sure that they do have certified rental certificates. Because I just heard that KMG, and this is what I was going to bring up to Mr. Van Fossen, is that they're going to be a property management for the Walter French facility. And it was brought to my attention that they may potentially have properties here in the city of Lansing that don't have valid certificates, rental certificates. So if the administration could follow up with that and make sure that we are keeping in, up to date with our landlords here in Lansing, make sure that they do have valid rental certificates.
Thank you, Councilmember Garza, Vice President Garza.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear, what was the company?
KMG Prestige. KMG Prestige. Yeah, and it looks like on their, what is it, BSNA, that they owe like $45,000 as well in payment in lieu of taxes.
Yeah.
we're on to remarks by the mayor or executive assistant.
Mayor Shore.
Okay, then we're on to public comment on city government-related matters. You have 3 minutes to speak. Our first speaker is Nicholas Zandy, followed by Daniel Arnold.
You know, if I had a nickel for every time I was called on to speak on public comment first in this meeting, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but weird that happened twice, right? You get the reference. Anyways, I first want to thank the City Council for voting against that useless self-storage unit at the old Sam's Club. That would have been a disaster for that community, and it would have been completely useless because, again, we already have 4 self-storage units, and we don't need a 5th. And I would like to thank the City Council for actually advocating for the South Side's needs, and that that saying that it's a completely useless area is just completely insulting. But I also want to speak about what we should fill certain vacancies on Edgewood for. And for the old Sam's Club, I would be thinking maybe something like homeless shelter or something. But someone also spoke about the old Hooters nearby and the fact that it has not been filled in. I have a suggestion for what restaurant should fill that old place in, and that is Chicken Shack. It is a local fried chicken restaurant to the state of Michigan. I've been there so many times, several occasions, all consistently good. And I think that would be a great place to do it since Hooters actually also specializes in chicken as well. And plus, it would also be an upgrade because Chicken Shack doesn't openly objectify against women, so that's a plus. So that would be my suggestion for what should be done. And so that's all I really need to say about this, and I shall yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we have Daniel Arnold, followed by Michael Mercer.
Hello, this is Daniel Arnold, Facebook guy Smiley. Glad to see all of you here. Councilmember Jackson, Councilmember Coast, new to the team. Love to see you here. Councilmember Hussein, Garza, Councilmember Wood, Councilmember Jeffrey Brown. Glad to see you just get an opportunity and just take advantage of everything that comes to you. It's so awesome. Councilmember Spitzley, Councilmember Spatafor, and Mayor Shore. I'm just really happy to be in this city. I absolutely love living here, and I know we have an ad hoc committee for the homeless that's starting up and everything, and it's just there's just really a lot of opportunity of people coming together without funds and just loving on the homeless. It's just happening at Reuter Park. It happens at different parks and areas, and City Rescue Mission getting donations to regularly reach out to the needy, and Holy Cross upping their standards. I'm around, the police, security, local, state, federal, around the capital area, and the homeless and mental health, and I just think we have a very, very inclusive city, a city that really cares about the needy, and I love to be here. And also we have Lansing Community College. We have the Cesar Chavez Learning Center, which is just incredible. Me on disability, I got a scholarship and going back to college studying criminal justice. And I'm glad to be here around all you guys, everybody who came out, Loretta Stanaway speaking up all the time, just people who just have had a long-term investment in this city and show that they care, and they're here to make this city the best it can be. I have one small concern I have is the Lansing Center. It's just a lot of times it feels like we start up new projects, new things, like they did a little bit of laser light show or something in between, the hotel and the Lansing Center. But then you're walking around the corner and you're like, wait, it feels like a third world country on this side of the building, and then on this side of the building it looks all new and shiny. I just think there's a lot of inconsistency in how it all is developed together, and it's the image. The Lansing Center is a great image, a welcoming image to the city is what we want it to be, and it's just not consistently a great presentation. So I know they're making efforts, but it just seems like certain parts of it have just been under construction for way too much time. They put up a sign and say, okay, this part of the river trail is just closed down, and so then I would do my daily walk on the river trail, and I'd go past that sign and find out that I could still walk on it a little bit. Then I get to one spot and be like, wait, there's no boards here. I better not walk on that part of the do not cross area. So it's just I think that we could really do that, Mayor Shore. It's really just take on that Lansing Center area or the river to walk, and just keep doing the wonderful efforts we are to beautify. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our last speaker, Michael Mercer. For the council, can you take it to the council? Okay, I'd like to read what was handed to the people who went out there a couple, 2-3 weeks ago when those people out there were protesting at that home out in Bath Township, who live at that apartment over there on Cesar Chavez. It says, stop landlord abuse. 318 West Cesar Chavez Avenue is a poorly maintained apartment complex in Old Town owned by landlord Todd Dowrick of Bath Township, who owns over 100 other properties in Lansing. Tenants of 318 West Cesar Chavez Avenue have experienced bedbugs, cockroaches, holes, mice, electrical hazards, and the building's unreliable boiler heating for years now. Less than a year ago, WLNS 6 News did a story about the conditions of 318 West Cesar Chavez Avenue, interviewing residents and observing firsthand holes in the ceiling of a closet, in the wall behind a bathtub, loose wires in the basement, and bugs in a refrigerator. Many of the residents interviewed in that story have since moved on, and conditions have not been improved. And I gave you those pictures here. Have you been over there to check it out, Jackson? It's your ward, and you 4 at large. I'm sure it's, you're in charge of all 4 wards. But anyhow, something
I also like to let you know, see the door, the deadbolt lock on the door? See the hole in the ceiling where bugs and, it could be termites too, to my opinion, but like they say here, who were handing them out 100 properties. I don't know if he owns that many properties in the city of Lansing. But anyhow, I'd like to also let you know, I'm glad you guys, turned that down, that you voted on those storage units, because with it, City of Lansing's got 7 on the south side, and they do not need number 8. Like I said before, you have the Roller World out there on Holmes and MLK. You got that Kmart, which is now a storage unit. You got the U-Haul there on the corner of Cedar and Jolly. Then you got the Days Inn behind the Aldi's and the Bell Tire there on the south side. You got Storage Sense out there in the Really's down by where 84 Lumber used to be. Then you got that Art Van Furniture store, if you remember that, on Pennsylvania. And then there's another one, don't know the name of it, but I know it's between Miller and 96, next to that dealership, LaFontaine Ford, and I'm glad number 8 over there on Edgewood is not going to be here.
Thank you. With that, we are adjourned this evening.